side of him. I think he's still that same Steve. He's still that. But now you're also seeing another side of him that he never had to show.
Telling people you work with, I don't want you even to be next to me. Like, I have such disdain for you that I'm annoyed by your presence.
His TV talk show.
Okay, this was the one he had on NBC just recently.
Whatever, yeah.
Okay.
The one that, damn, who took his show from him?
Kelly Clarkson.
How can Kelly Clarkson take your show?
I heard you go on the air and you said, my sister done burnt too many bridges, and it's nothing I can do for her now. Steve, do you know how hurt I was?
Steve Harvey's journey to fame wasn't as smooth as it seemed. Many comedians now claim he upset quite a few people along the way. The jokes have faded, and the truth is starting to surface about how he really climbed to success.
By the way, this is the same guy who rails against people who don't believe in his particular voodoo.
Right? Against gay people.
Against gay people, against Asians.
Behind Steve Harvey's polished image of charm and motivation lies a darker story. Fellow comedians talk about lost friendships, stolen material, and secret deals that cause deep resentment. For years, silence ruled, but now the truth is finally being revealed.
You know, my thing with Steve Harvey is that he used my material on both his platforms.
Yeah.
After I talked to him, I saw him at Def Jam, I went up and talked to him, I said, man, you're using my material.
Let's get right to it. Steve Harvey is one of the most recognized names in comedy and television. He went from small comedy clubs to hosting major shows like Family Feud, Miss Universe, and The Steve Harvey Show. He built a massive brand through radio, books, and podcasts, inspiring millions with his success story. But according to people who knew him before fame, the man the world now praises isn't quite the same one they remember struggling to make it in the early days.
This is like Steve Harvey telling people he used to be homeless. That's my story. That's not his story. Steve Harvey wasn't never homeless. When Mark Curry was touring with him 25 years ago, he was making $3,000 a show in cash and doing 5 shows a week. They just tell the stories. Thanks to my wife, I'm where I am. You said that about the first wife. You forget that? You told us it was her, then you went and married somebody else that think like a man. Like, what are you talking about? They think they can rewrite history.
Let's go back to the 1980s and 90s when stand-up comedy was booming. Steve Harvey was just another determined performer chasing his dream on stage. He had talent and drive, but so did many others: Mark Curry, D.L. Hughley, and Monique Cedric, Bernie Mac, all grinding hard for their moment to shine.
Bernie said in the GQ article that when he got Ocean's 11, Steve had reached out to the producer and said he thought he would be a better fit and tried to get the part and blah, blah, blah. And that was,
They all followed one unspoken rule in comedy: never steal another comedian's jokes. But that's exactly where rumors about Steve Harvey began, as multiple voices started calling out the same pattern over time.
Comedians don't appreciate their jokes being stolen, and Steve Harvey has rubbed several comedians the wrong way. Well, it looks like Harvey has found himself in some trouble.
No Halloween costume. I think we UPS, I guess. I don't know.
You've heard me say that every Halloween I had the same outfit on. I just had a brown box. And he just told me to tell everybody I was the UPS man.
My material on his show, so I had a beef on that.
On what show?
When he was on the bullshit talk show he had, and he did all my Halloween material one Halloween.
Says he knows that Steve Harvey stole his Halloween bit because it was a personal story. He was talking about himself growing up.
This cat is hot. Please put your hands together for Cat Williams.
Saying you are not supposed to be at the gas station making life decisions.
Can't even pump gas like you used to no more.
If you put $15 in your tank, you had time to bond with your vehicle. You had time to put the nozzle in and
put the nozzle in there and hit it.
Set the clicker and look through your car and clean off the dashboard and
be sitting there talking, be on your phone. Hey, what's happening? Be walking around, cleaning the windshield.
Run in the store, get some Pringles and a Snapper, and it'll still be pumping.
Okay, you go in there, bring me a wine cooler. Bring me a cooler, dog. Not no more.
Can't even turn around good for that son of a bitch click. Just soon as you put it in, just click, click.
Get in there and start it up, and you can't believe that damn needle is a quarter tank of gas.
The same Steve that went to go watch Mark Curry do his whole sitcom and then stole everything Mark Curry had. Now Steve got a sitcom where he the principal and he wear a suit and then he gets this high top fade, making all black men think he got the best lineup in the business. And it's a man unit. Then you ask it, why you not a movie star? I didn't want to be a movie star. This the same that hated on Bernie with this same thing. I didn't want to be a movie star. No, you couldn't be a movie star. There are 30,000 new scripts in Hollywood every year. Not one of them asks for a country bumpkin black dude that can't talk good over baby and look like Mr. Potato Head. There ain't none. You would have to have range. I played a lot of characters, 60 movie roles. I'm not playing Cat Williams in there.
One of the people speaking out the loudest is Mark Curry, the star of the 90s sitcom Hangin' with Mr. Cooper. Mark's been in comedy as long as Steve, and in an old interview, he openly claimed Steve stole his entire act and performed it on TV as his own.
We going through something, we'll call each other because we feel for each other, because we know the real person.
Right, yeah.
I know they lying about you online. I know that podcast is bullshit. Hang in there, dog. Don't pay no attention to that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, and look, man, just because you can talk smooth without saying, it don't mean you ain't lying.
Right.
I be sitting up here looking at these podcasts of these other comedians that's going on talking about other comedians. Hold up, dog. Where did that shit come from? When did we become that? When did we get into tear each other down business? Because you ain't never heard me say not a disparaging remark against another comedian nowhere. You ain't heard him, or him. Because we ain't cut from that cloth.
Right.
So what is your motive for doing this here? And you're not going to tear him down. And look, man, I got a real platform.
Mark's claim wasn't just talk. He said he personally witnessed it. When the Steve Harvey show aired, he recognized bits, jokes, and scenes that matched his own work word for word. And he's not alone. For years, lesser-known comedians have quietly shared similar stories, accusing Steve of reworking their material for his own success.
Harvey is on his third marriage. His third wife was mistress to his second wife.
He got it. Everybody thinks Steve Harvey's some stand-up man. No, I'm a kiss the old girl who owned TV One. He used to kiss her. He had the radio show out here.
It was hot. We had the Steve Harvey show, so we had a national TV show. Bernie Mac was the hit comedian at the time, and then DL was hot. He had a TV. But the first year we did it, it was just me, Bernie, and Steve.
Right.
And Steve closed.
You did the first part, and then the second part.
I think, of course, that was, definitely a contributing circumstance, but also.
Like me, like Oprah, Tyler, Lee Daniels, and I gotta put my brother Steve on the list. Y'all knew I was not wrong.
Love every time, had him on my show every time. But if you're gonna do another stick, just tell the brother that you stick me. Dog, I'm gonna be dogging you on the list.
Let's be real, Mark Curry was the first one bold enough to say what many others had been whispering for years. He didn't sugarcoat anything. Mark said it's fine to be inspired by someone, but when you take another man's entire act and pass it off as your own, that's not inspiration, that's theft. What made it worse was that when Mark tried to speak up back then, nobody wanted to listen. By that time, Steve Harvey wasn't just another comedian trying to make it. He had become a brand. The flashy suits, the confident smile, the big talk shows, he was untouchable. Nobody wanted to risk calling him out. But Mark wasn't the only one who had something to say. Years later, Cat Williams stepped in and didn't hold back either. In one of his most talked about interviews, Cat said, "Steve Harvey ain't the king of comedy, he's the king of stealing jokes." He built his career on Bernie Mac's back. That hit hard because Cat wasn't just talking about jokes, he was talking about loyalty. Remember Steve, Bernie Mac, Cedric the Entertainer, and D.L. Hughley were all part of the original Kings of Comedy tour, a groundbreaking project that celebrated black comedians on a massive stage. It was supposed to be about brotherhood, about four men uplifting each other and sharing the spotlight. But after Bernie Mac passed away, the bond started to fade. People began whispering that Steve used Bernie's death to elevate himself, stepping into the spotlight and taking the king title all for himself. Cat put it best when he said Bernie was the people's champ, while Steve was the TV champ. Bernie was loved for being real and never selling out. That's why fans respected him deeply. Soon, people started digging up old clips. Interviews where Steve spoke about Bernie's success with a strange tone, sometimes sounding jealous. In one old moment with D.L. Hughley, Steve even said, "Some people ain't meant to be stars like me." Looking back now, that comment feels different. When you have names like Cat Williams, Mark Curry, and Monique, and even D.L. Hughley all hinting that Steve's success came at the expense of others, it makes you wonder if the truth has been hiding behind that big smile all along. D.L., who's known Steve for decades, once said on a podcast, "Steve knows how to survive in any room, but that don't mean everybody likes how he does it." He meant that Steve could adapt to any situation, talking one way to his comedian friends and another way to Hollywood executives. He knew how to play both sides, and that's what made him powerful and dangerous. Comedy is about being real. Hollywood, on the other hand, is about survival. Steve learned early on that to survive, you sometimes have to make hard choices, even if it means burning a few bridges along the way. One comedian who worked with him years ago claimed Steve would laugh with you one night and then meet your agent the next morning to pitch your jokes. That's how he moved from small comedy clubs to primetime television. But as his success grew, his friendship slowly faded away. The biggest fallout came when Monique spoke out about being blacklisted in Hollywood. Instead of supporting her, Steve told her publicly, "You can't sacrifice money for integrity. This is the money game." That line went viral, and not in a good way. For Monique, it was a painful betrayal. She thought Steve was her friend, a fellow comedian who understood the struggle. But instead, he seemed to side with the system that shut her out. That moment changed how people saw Steve, from a mentor to a man who'd do whatever it took to stay on top. Even Steve himself has admitted he's made choices he's not proud of. In one interview, he said, "I've done things I ain't proud of, but when you're hungry, you eat what's in front of you." At the time, people took it as a metaphor. But looking back, it sounds more like a confession. The comedians who came up with him often described him as ambitious to the point of being ruthless, someone who wanted success so badly that nothing else mattered. But here's the thing, the higher you climb, the more people remember who you stepped on to get there. Now, years later, the stories, the interviews, and the receipts are all resurfacing. The cracks in Steve Harvey's perfect image are starting to show. This isn't just about stolen jokes anymore. It's about how fame can change a man. Steve has built his brand on faith, family, and motivation. Yet behind that message, there are rumors of broken friendships, shady deals, and betrayal. Even some of his old radio crew members have said they felt used and replaced once Steve got bigger. As one of them put it, "Steve doesn't keep friends, he keeps opportunities." And yet, through all the criticism, Steve keeps winning. He's got hit shows, best-selling books, and viral motivational speeches. It's like nothing sticks. Maybe that's his real secret. He understands the power of image. He once said, "If people believe you're blessed, they'll forget what you did to get there." And looking at him now, he might have been right. Still, one question lingers. Can a man really build an empire on bad karma and sleep peacefully at night? Because while Steve Harvey remains one of the most successful figures in entertainment, he's also one of the most criticized. Every year, another story surfaces, another voice speaks up. Another reminder that maybe the man we see on TV isn't the man he used to be. Maybe Steve Harvey's story is the truth about success. That talent alone isn't enough. You've got to be smart, strategic, and sometimes ruthless. The funny ones make people laugh, but the smart ones make it to the top. Steve Harvey did both. But as D.L. Hughley once said, "Just because you made it doesn't mean everybody clapping is happy for you." Steve's rise was legendary. But it came with a cost: broken trust, lost friendships, and questions that still hang in the air. Now, as more comedians speak out, one question keeps echoing. Did Steve Harvey build his empire through talent, or by taking pieces from everyone around him? Either way, the laughter that made him famous might soon be drowned out by the truth catching up to him.